Hi, and welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, we're going to talk about growing your green grass. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hey, I was thinking about this concept last night, and it's hearkening back to my home ownership days. Liz and I no longer own a home. We haven't for several years. We went full-time RVing, which is a story for a whole nother day and a whole nother type of podcast. But I haven't mowed a lawn or taken care of a lawn or done any of that sort of green thumbery type stuff for quite a few years. And even when I did, I didn't really enjoy it. I will be the first to say that that is not me. I know a lot of fathers and dads find a lot of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment in taking care of their yard and having all these things done and fertilizer and blah, 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 all those stuff. That's not me. I am absolutely not that person. I grew up mowing yards as, a young person, as a way to earn money and extra income. And I never really enjoyed it, but it was something that I was capable of doing, especially, before legal age of working and getting a job and all that stuff. And I just never developed a taste for it, for lack of a better term. But I was thinking, actually, it struck me the other night about this concept of your own green grass. And we've all heard the saying of, you got to water your own lawn before you worry about your neighbors, and the grass is always greener on the other side. And I want to offer a little bit of a different, I don't know if take is the right word, but interpretation or slant on that saying. And the saying is great in and of itself, and you can't ignore those lessons, right? Because the grass is not always greener. And if you water your own lawn, you will get green grass. But let's take that a step further to this concept of what happens to a well-mowed, lush, fertilized lawn. Do you see dandelions popping up? Do you see thistles? Do you see, depending on what part of the country you're in, do you see burrs and all those types of things? No, you don't. You know why? Because that healthy, green, lush lawn that's fertilized and taken care of and mowed and, has all the things happening to it that keeps it healthy, that grass needs to grow, they choke out the thistles. They choke out the dandelions. It doesn't give, because that environment, the grass is already using all the resources around it. It does not provide an opportunity for external factors, negative external factors, if you can see where I'm going with this, to come in and grow and thrive and take resources away from the healthy. We kind of understand this principle, especially if you've done any sort of lawn care whatsoever. You understand that the best way to get rid of weeds and dandelions and thistles and all those bad things you don't want in your yard is to create a yard and a lawn that is so healthy and so thriving that there are no extra resources for those bad things to take root. Hey, and the analogy kind of works there, right? Take root. But the point is, you got to focus so much on the healthy instead of just getting rid. And certainly to start with, if you're starting from a really bad lawn, and we're going to kind of use this analogy throughout, but you get the point. This applies to so many other areas of our life, and especially in business. But if you're starting with that lawn that is riddled with weeds and thistles, then yes, you have to go through and pluck all those buggers out. You have to get rid of them, because they have taken root and they are making their stand and making their claim and stake for that little section of their property and their space. And once you pull those out and then you plant that seed and you water that grass, lush seed, whatever type of different grass seeds there are and what's appropriate for your little neck of the woods. But it is absolutely the same in business. It is absolutely the same in our bodies. It is absolutely the same in our relationships. If we do nothing but nurture the good and foster the positive, there is no room for the negative. There is no room for those naysayers to come in and get you down. There is no room for those employees that are just downers and just bummer to be around. They're constantly negative. Their productivity isn't that awesome. Maybe they do a little bit here and there, but overall, probably not worth the ROI of what you're investing in them. But if we kind of, first of all, get rid of those, which is a step unto it itself. I'm not arguing that or dismissing that as just a simple thing. But if we start focusing on, okay, now that I've gotten rid and I've plucked these weeds, whether it be out of your relationships or out of your business or any other thing that you're involved in. And now how do I start focusing on growing and building that positive? How do I start focusing on making this lawn that I am living in so lush and so green and so like tropical rainforest, just growth like crazy, right? And just massive life coming through and this amazing potential as it goes through your summer. And you just want to go out there and lay in the grass because it's so awesome, right? And all your neighbors are like, that's the lawn I want to have, and you can do that with your business. You can have you go, that's the type of business I want to have. That's the type of business leader I want to be, because you are so focused on building something great and positive that you have no time for the negative and the naysayers. And this applies a lot. And I was thinking, in all the areas this sort of applies to in life and in business. And social media is absolutely at one of the top of the list because, and I've certainly had these interactions, and I am 100% confident that the gentlemen that I've had these interactions with on my Facebook and on my Instagram and different social media platforms are not listening to this podcast. I've had these interactions where they are nothing but negative, like all the time, like, oh my gosh, the world is ending and these attacks. And it's not just differences of opinions, because certainly we do have that in different interpretations, as most Americans do, even within families and things, because they are from a different part of our country that is, I'm just going to say it, more liberal in their thinking. And if you haven't picked this up by now, I, Kale Houser, am a little bit more conservative leaning, but I am also very realistic and practical. I look at things logically. I look at things like, oh, does that even make sense? Like, no, it doesn't. And I will make a stand for that. And I've had people that come in and attack me for that and want to argue this point that it literally, when you look at it logically, just doesn't make sense until you start ignoring facts. And I was thinking about this, like, why am I wasting my time with that? It's certainly one thing, and it's okay to get involved in discourse and be open to different ideas and, certainly be exposed to that. I have zero issue with that, and I highly encourage it. However, it's one thing, it's the classic quote from Jesus is, you're casting your pearls before swine, because there is a point. And this is kind of the trick. There is a point where no matter what you say, no matter how awesome you are, no matter the logic that you're implying and irrefutable, whatever it is, that they're just going to be like, no, that's stupid. You're, using all these different words that are common to shut down arguments in our modern day society. And you have to be able to just go, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop wasting my time and energy on this. And this could absolutely be an employee of yours, one of your staff members, that you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to stop wasting our company's resources on you because you are not providing any new value. You're not contributing at all to our growth. You're not contributing to the culture that we're trying to build here by all these actions that you're doing. And then, here you go through your process of kind of getting them out, and maybe it's not necessarily a fire on the spot, and you give them opportunities and warnings and written counseling and retraining plans and all those types of things. But there has to be a point where you stop focusing on the negative. You stop allowing those weeds in your life to have root, to start sucking those resources of water and nutrients out of your soil and out of your business. And I would highly encourage you to do the same in your social media. If your social media is filled with just kind of old high school buddies and high school, girlfriends, if you're a lady, high school friends or college friends, depending on where you're at in your life, then it's probably time to find new friends. If you're in a certain industry, maybe you're a realtor, or maybe you're a optician, or a dentist, maybe it's time to start focusing on those industries, to start to transitioning, kind of let go of that past. And I'm not saying, drop all your friends or anything like that, but, maybe going to your 20-year reunion isn't that big a deal when you're trying to build something so massive and great in your industry that you would rather go to that industry conference. Right? That's in another part of the country or something at the same time. So really focus on how can you, as a business leader, as a leader in your business, transition to the positive, transition to, you know what, I'm only going to engage people that are uplifting. I'm only going to engage and offer commentary on things that are beneficial to our society, to our industry, to our business, to our people. right? How do you stop having those arguments with people in the coffee room or in your break room at the coffee machine, coffee pot? And there are very practical ways you can do that. One of them is if you need to unfriend some people on your social media, I would go ahead and do it. Or better yet, do the little, I think it's like unfollow for 30 days. Silence them. See what that's like. See if that kind of annoyance starts to go away as you give those people a 30-day break. And then when they come back, and if you're like, oh, darn it, I was doing so good and I wasn't having to listen to, Karen over there complain about all these things and all this blah, blah, blah that I just don't care about and is not beneficial to anybody, then maybe it is time to unfriend or walk away or have those things. And this could be very practical as well in your family. You might have a brother or a sister or an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a mom, a dad, a grandfather, nephews, all those types of things in your family that may be kind of time to take a break. Do the little unfollow for 30 days and give yourself a chance to recage so that they are stopping being that negative influence in your life, and give yourself a chance to actually grow and be positive and accomplish something without somebody constantly in the back of your ear going, you can't do that. That's not for you. That's not what Housers do. All those things. And I'm not saying that about my family at all, because they've been very encouraging. Well, my parents have been very encouraging, not so much my extended family from that sense. But I will say that there is a moment that you have to transition to this. You cannot keep allowing those dandelions to go. And you cannot keep going out and weeding that yard. You cannot keep spending your energy of putting people in your business, in your life, that turn out to be these massive soul suckers of energy and effort and brain power and resources in your business, if that's the case, and constantly plucking them out. You need to get processes in place that you find those good people, and by good people, I mean the right people for your business, for your industry, for your type of culture, because not everyone's going to fit in your culture, even if they are good people. They may be good people for this guy over here, but kind of not good fits for your business and your culture and your, work ethics and the way you try to do things and what you're setting up for. And the point being is there are specific ways you can do that, right? You can attract people by your culture. You can attract people by what you're doing in your community and how your growth plan and what your plan to expand, and by translating that into the opportunities that you offer for people that come and join your staff. You can attract people by the culture that you build and the overall attitude and engagement level in your company, in your business, and you use that to retain them. You use that because you're investing in your people and showing them those opportunities and showing them the way to advance themselves, whether it just be financially or in their career or promotions or responsibility, whatever that is in your industry. And then ultimately, right, all of a sudden you look around and you're like, man, this business is pretty awesome. Like, yeah, it took some growing pains. We had to, get rid of a couple people. We made a few mistakes along the way. But here I am X amount of time later, and I've got this amazing team that wants to be there. I've got this amazing staff that is communicating, and they're supportive of each other. We're constantly looking for new ways to expand and serve our clients and customers. And you look around and you're like, man, that is awesome. And you don't even think about the weeds anymore. Certainly you're on guard because you're continuing to fertilize your team. You're continuing to provide enough water and resources and fertile soil and all those things, right? That analogy, to make them grow and to allow them to grow. Let's put it that way, right? You're not forcing it in that sense. So that was something that kind of came to my mind of, and I'm going to start thinking about this myself in my own life. How can I stop wasting my resources? Or I shouldn't put it that way. It's not that you're wasting your resources. It's that you're not applying the right resources to the right areas in order to prevent the bad influences from taking root, right? So how can I, Kale Houser, start doing the things and the actions and the attitudes that I am so busy being awesome, right? You are so busy being incredible. You are so busy being the best dentist in your community that you don't have time for somebody to come in and you suck or deal with that bad review, right? Because that person was having a bad day and they're just like, oh, worst dentist in the world. Like, he gave me a shot and it hurt. Like, yep, that's kind of what happens, with getting shots and cavities and root canals and all those types of things. And that happens. So, but you're so busy just providing phenomenal service to the rest of your customer base that, those reviews and naysayers, they just kind of don't matter, right? That one-star review in your 5,000 4.5+ star reviews, right? Why on earth would you focus on that 1-star review when you've got 5,000 awesome people that you're trying to service? And it reflects onto your staff, and it reflects, that whole package of what your culture stands for. But I start to kind of ramble a little bit with that because it is such an interesting concept and something I don't want you to ignore. But it does take effort. It does take a little bit work. It takes some active thinking. Maybe it takes some planning. Maybe it takes you sitting down and making a list of all the people that you would like to take a break from. Start with your immediate sphere. Start with the people that, work with you or work for you, and then expand it from there. Start with, if you were to have a huge family reunion, if you were to have a high school reunion, if you were to have some big gathering, maybe a conference in your industry, and you would go through this list of people and you would like, oh, I would love to see Aunt Carol. Ooh, Uncle Mike, not so much. He is a complainer. He's a soul sucker, right? All those things. You kind of have a concept of this. And I'm saying it's time to grow up a little bit and start taking control of who you allow in your life by the method of what you're feeding of those around you. Are you feeding them fertilizer? Are you feeding them water? Are you feeding them sunshine? All those things to allow growth? Or are you ignoring it to where now there's patches of dead spots to where one little dandelion seed lands there and it all of a sudden starts taking over, and pretty soon you've got nothing but thistles and briars and all those types of things. And if you're from the Southwest, you've got those crazy little thorn things. I don't even know what they're called other than the devil's jacks, whatever they are, get stuck in you and you can't even walk in your yard anymore, or you don't even want to. And then it becomes so unmanageable that you're like, man, I can't do this on my own. Now I've got to hire somebody to come and rip out my entire yard and start from scratch. And that's the point we never want to get to. And you can easily prevent from getting there, but it does take work. If that is something that we can help you with at Kale Houser Leadership, please reach out to us, because this is kind of what we do. We help business owners like you see those spots, go through this analysis, because sometimes we just need that person to kind of help guide us and offer an alternative point of view and a perspective that allows you to kind of like, oh yeah, man, I am absolutely miserable every time I go over to so-and-so's house. Or when I see young Jeff walk through the door of our office, I'm like, oh, what's he gonna do today, right? And you just kind of have learned to accept it because in your mind the alternatives are too painful or too much work to go through to fix the situation or get past it. And we can absolutely help you with that. So please make sure you reach out to us, Kale at kalehouserleadership.com, or hit up kalehouser.com and book a call with us. We would love to talk with you, Liz and I. All right, everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed some of the speakers that we've had and that we're about to have coming up. I'm just tickled pink that they have been willing to come on and that I get to talk to these people. They're pretty fantastic. So comments, likes, subscriptions, shares are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you so much for helping me spread the news of the channel, and we can help a lot more small business owners be like this crazy successful. Have a fantastic afternoon no matter where you're at in the world. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.